This is the Bucktool 12-inch variable speed drill press. Right off the bat, I would like to disclose that the manufacturer provided this unit for the purposes of making this video, presumably after they saw my review of the very similar WEN 4214 last year. That said, I'm not otherwise being compensated and have no further business planned with them, so I'm free to speak my mind. Inside the box, we've got a package of small parts and assembly hardware, the nicely machined work table, the base, the key chuck, the stand, and the quite heavy power head. At this point, you might want to grab a pair of gloves, as most things are covered in some manufacturing grease. The small hardware pack includes the required fasteners, the handles for depth, speed, and table height adjustment, a couple more handles for tightening the table, and the MT2 arbor. Assembly starts by bolting the post to the base. Oddly, the included wrench doesn't work here, so you'll need to grab a 5/8 or 16mm to tighten the 4 bolts. The table height adjustment handle, which operates via a rack and pinion system, slides on and is retained by a single set screw. It uses plastic threads, which are not ideal, but probably okay. The height can be locked by tightening the collar on the back, while the rotation can be locked by tightening the collar on the front. And then here's that rack and pinion system in action. From here, the table just drops into place. The entire power head assembly slides on top of the main post and is then held there by gravity and just 2 small set screws. Then we've got 3 handles which actually operate the press and 1 to vary the speed. The included wrench can be used to tighten both sets. From here, I thought I'd take a look at Runout before installing the arbor and chuck. So it's hard to tell I'm even turning the pulley right now, but it's looking like less than 1/1000th of an inch. I consider that excellent. The included chuck does come with a Morse tapered arbor that just slips into place and then gets set with a mallet or dead blow. It's marked 0.8 to 16mm, which roughly equals 1/32 to 5/8 of an inch. With a drill blank installed in the chuck, I'm now seeing just 1/1000th of an inch of runout. For a kit chuck, that's outstanding and pretty much means that unless you'd like something keyless, there's no need to upgrade. That said, if you do need to remove, Bucktool has included a removal tool. Just lower the press and tap it in to drop the chuck. Like I mentioned earlier, this drill press uses an industry standard MT2 arbor, so if you did want to use something aftermarket, like this Uxel keyless one, it's an easy install. Operation-wise, we've got a switch for the LED on the right, the lasers on the left, and a big green on button. The red button marked with a circle turns off the motor, while the E-stop button cuts power to the whole unit. After giving the press a once over, I noticed that something was missing. This is where the depth stop usually resides. For example, here it is on my WEN 4214. At first, I thought the manufacturer forgot to include it, like a defect. But then I learned that Bucktool uses a different and arguably better system. They've integrated the depth stop into the main handle, so if you set an inch here, the quill only drops an inch here. Pretty slick. However, doing it this way means we can't lock the quill in the down position like we can on the WEN, say for drum sanding, and that's the downside. But because I don't like being without any features, even ones I rarely use, I came up with a solution. I assumed that being nearly identical, the WEN depth stop would fit the Bucktool, and it did. I then modeled the collar in Fusion, 3D printed with a nice tight infill, and then added 7 inches of 1/2 inch all thread and a couple nuts, and had a working replica that installed very nicely. Now I get to use the clutch on-handle depth stop provided by Bucktool while retaining the ability to lock the quill in the down position should I ever need to. Best of both worlds. I'll make this file available to anyone who wants to use it on Thingiverse. Now on to the fun part, this unit's signature move, its ability to infinitely vary its speed without manually moving belts. It's actually a really cool system. Basically, we've got 2 pulleys that compress and expand opposite of each other in order to change the gearing. Super cool. Speed ranges from a low of 520 RPM all the way up to 3200 and pretty much anything in between. Next, I wanted to test the accuracy of the lasers, And just like the Wen, any bit installed on the Bucktool blocks the beam as it approaches, so before dropping I made a small mark. And how about that? Dead on. I also wanted to verify the table is perfectly perpendicular to the quill and the chuck, breaking out my little machinist square, and I'd call that just about perfect. But what about power? Here I'm turning a 1.5 inch Forstner bit at 750 RPM into some hard maple. Or it might be birch. Either way, it's pretty hard. No problems here. I don't think the motor even noticed the load. Happy about that. So yeah, overall really nice for the price. Fit and finish is a little rough, but the motor sounds relatively smooth and the chuck, quill, and arbor all seem well machined, and that's what counts. I'm pretty sure this drill press came out of the same factory as the Wen 4214, but does have a slightly larger 6.2 amp motor and a better overall depth adjustment system. I'd say go for it. You know you want to.